As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. Let's talk about another video game publisher here. And I thought this story was interesting just because the headline is so clickbaity. But the headline here, Ubisoft is the most hated gaming company on Twitter, according to study. By the way, Capcom and Game Freak follow after Ubisoft as most hated gaming brands in the world. It says, though Ubisoft is far ahead. I love how it has to specify. And so recently, Rave Reviews conducted this experiment to figure out the most hated gaming brands in the world are. One of the most notable is that Ubisoft has been proven to be the most hated gaming company on Twitter, according to the data collected. Look, we don't need to do too much Ubisoft bashing. But just so you understand in terms of the runner-ups for the most hated gaming brands, Capcom was the most hated in 9 countries. Ubisoft was the first most hated in 23 countries. Game Freak most hated in 4 countries. Konami most hated in 3 countries. And Activision most hated in 2 countries. So 23 countries felt Ubisoft was the most hated gaming brand in the world. I'm curious how or why you guys think Ubisoft got there. Lindsay, I
just was going to say, did this surveying happen pre-Activision Blizzard lawsuit?
This survey, I don't know when they conducted it.
Okay, just out of curiosity.
Too small here.
I would assume it happened pre-Activision Blizzard lawsuit, which would mean that Ubisoft was the one with massive inequality issues at the time.
Could be true. But any thoughts on why? Jeff, did you follow Ubisoft?
I did. I did cover them. I mean, they've had a lot of issues. Obviously, the ones that Lindsay highlighted. I would say that's unfortunately not uncommon in the gaming industry, right? Riot had similar issues to that. Now Activision, we're kind of learning that that's something that's way too prevalent in the industry, but I don't necessarily want to touch on that. In terms of their games, I mean, they had a series of issues. I forget the game. It was Ghost Recon Breakpoint, maybe, that came out and was sort of like pay to win, had a lot of server issues, just was like a terrible launch, really underperformed expectations. I think they had a number of games that then had to delay at that point. So just execution issues that they were having. I think there's a lot of concerns that a lot of their games are very similar and formulaic. So, I think they with that game sort of took the mantle from, because usually EA is listed pretty high on this list. I noticed you didn't even really mention them, which is kind of surprising that maybe they've done a good job over the last year or two rehabilitating their image in the gamer's mind. I know with Battlefront and some of the issues they had, even with the last Battlefield, they were, as of a couple of years ago, kind of supervillain #1. So it's a little surprising not to see them on there.
I mean, part of the problem is the survey was all done on Twitter, right? And so it's like, who has they looked at percent rate of negative tweets, right? And so one of the companies, Game Freak, who was on this list, it says has 100% rate of negative tweets in Canada. Like one dude in Canada, like talking shit. Right? There's definitely.
I would love to see the results from Reddit. That would be so funny.
Definitely methodology issues. Yeah. But like it also says Sony's the most hated global brand in the world, according to the study. Hated most in 10 different countries, which is weird, right? Again, Twitter is probably part of the problem here, and I think one of you guys mentioned it. Let me just read some of these comments here. I'm getting way behind. Sorry, guys. Wani says, also, can you guys make Sid Kitten a regular for weekly news show asking for a friend?
I would love to.
There you go. You got your answer, Wani. Six Cannon says, Ubisoft continuing to hold their title in the gaming industry. Goyo says, why did they just measure on Twitter? Easiest to limit where they were getting the info from. I mean, Lindsay, you probably have some thoughts on this. I don't know if anyone else. I know Twitter is easy to gather data because of their APIs. You can essentially ingest the entire Twitter feed, so it makes it quite easy to do this. This is also why, and I'll read Christian's comment here. Survey didn't come from YouGov, so it doesn't matter. But this is also why YouGov's data is just so much better than everyone else's in the industry, because they're not just taking a Twitter feed and ingesting it and having some machine decide the percent of negative tweets. They actually are asking people directly, polling people directly, interviewing people directly, and over large numbers of people, the data sets become very good. So Twitter, because it's easy and cheap, I think Goyo is the answer. Lindsay, I don't know if you had other thoughts.
I mean, for all the stats nerds out there, I believe that this is an endogeneity issue, as in the immediate selection of your random sample is inherently biased by people who are actually on the platform of Twitter, which is an extremely small sample of the world. So from this very small sample of the internet, we can conclude that Ubisoft is hated.
Now, I mean, the conclusion of that, you anecdotally, and Sid Chilrog, I don't know if you guys agree, like, I feel like there is a lot of complaining about Ubisoft in gaming circles and gaming communities, right? Like, I don't think it's just a Twitter issue. So
I'm actually, probably this is an oversight by me, but the noise about Ubisoft, it didn't reach me somehow. EA, hear a lot of hate. Activision, hear a lot of hate. What was the other one on the list?
Riot.
Riot, usually, I mean, there was the one big complaint, but besides that, not too much. But yeah, Ubisoft hadn't reached us for some reason.
They did go through. I mean, all the big developers went through something similar. But it's an interesting sort of piece of anecdotal evidence that you didn't hear as much about it. And I agree, we didn't hear as much about it. Jeffrey says, "Hi everyone. Hey Jeffrey, great to have you here." Adam, is this actually most hated or just least liked? The way literally the survey is worded, Adam, and I'll show it to you, is the most hated gaming brand in every country. So they clearly asked most hated, not least liked. Christian says survey didn't come from YouGov, so it doesn't matter. Christian, thank you. Your check's in the mail. Six Cannon, no, but it's true. Like the quality of the data set you get is just worlds different, because they're not just looking at Twitter. Six Cannon says, I think I only recently Capcom started to make a return because of Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, and Devil May Cry 5. So article posted date might be a little important. I mean, this article is literally from 5 days ago. When the study was done and when they collected the data, I'm not entirely sure, though. Goyo says, Ubisoft may be for most mediocre, but I don't know about most hated. It's fair. At Christian Martin, YouTube channel. There you go. Wani says, I meant the company culture in Ubisoft is very, very disturbing as well, so I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, I think to Chilrock's point, they seem to have slid a bit more under the radar, though. Six Cannon says, I understood it as the general disappointment with the company with their day one release problems. They just goof really hard often. That's also true. Like, whatever happened to Hyperscape, guys? Why did that not take off?
I bring that up all the time. Like, where's Hyperscape?
Yeah, what happened to that?
It was a good mechanic that they have. That was one where like streamers could like get. It was sort of like the Hunger Games, right? Like people could help.
And the movement mechanics were novel. Yeah. Like, it had novel things like Splitgate. Why did that not work? I'm curious, Sid or Chilrog. Did you guys play it on stream? Did you?
I saw it a little bit on stream. I followed it very not too much. Maybe the hype wasn't there. I feel like it had a little bit of a pop at the beginning and then just like gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Myth playing it, and he was actually the one that put me on to like Apex. So I was like, which is the first game I ever streamed. So I was like, whoa, Hyperscape. But then the big streamers stopped playing it. Like they didn't like play it for a long time, and then they just moved on to the next thing. And I was like, nah, like I didn't care enough to like play it if they weren't playing it really. So I mean, influencer marketing works.
I mean, we've heard this a million times before on the podcast. The people choose the games they play based on the streamers that they watch, basically. Wani says, I hate Sony because I could not get any PS5. That could be some of the hate, or a lot of the hate. Ashish Gupta says, Juice.
What's up, Ashish? Finally, the Juice getting some love. I appreciate it.
And Christian
hit me up
says,
on Twitch. Now I'm a Twitch streamer.
Now you're a Twitch streamer. Christian says, pay me in V-Bucks, Paul. Christian, absolutely, anytime.